All this talk of BP replacing its CEO comes as the company prepares to announce its second quarter earnings tomorrow. Dougie Youngson joins us now from London to preview those numbers. He is a top-ranked analyst on BP. He currently has a sell recommendation on the stock. Dougie, thanks for your time. We should start with your reaction to this expectation that Tony Hayward will be leaving that CEO job over the next 24 hours. Tell us about the timing. Is the timing surprising to you?
I think the timing is surprising. We all expected Tony to leave post capping off the well, so the fact that it's happened so quickly it is very surprising.
What is the risk of him leaving from an analyst perspective? Is it that we still don't have things resolved in the Gulf?
Absolutely, but ultimately the biggest risk associated with Tony Hayward is a political risk. To say he's unpopular in the States is to put things mildly. But I think it's quite a shrewd move that if he is replaced by Bob Dudley, who is an American, that would go some way to rebuilding relations with the US.
What about the expectation on how much ultimately this spill will cost BP? We know the estimates are all over the map, some saying possibly $60 billion. What kind of number could we get out of BP tomorrow, and how does that tie into this potential CEO change?
The expectation for me is tomorrow that they will write off the $20 billion which has been ring-fenced so far. The key question is what the other liabilities will be in terms of fines and potential punitive damages, which will go on top of the clean-up costs.
Dougie, we mentioned that you have a sell rating on this stock. Shares are higher in London this morning, of course nowhere near where they were before this crisis began. What is the expectation on how the market may react to the kinds of numbers you're talking about when the company comes out with its results tomorrow?
I think the market is going to be a bit surprised tomorrow. My expectation is that there will be a number of announcements tomorrow, not only within the financial statements, but also in terms of company strategy, potential management changes, and ultimately the future direction of the company post-Gulf of Mexico.
Dougie, what about a severance package for Tony Hayward? Everyone's talking about possibly him getting a year's worth of salary. How's that going to sit with investors?
I think the investors are probably going to be okay with it. I think the key problem will be that the American administration, they're likely to get very upset if it's perceived that Tony is getting an excellent golden handshake.
How would they structure his severance package then, based on that concern?
Well, it's difficult to say. I think ultimately, he has a contract and terms and conditions in there. If the US politicians get upset, which is very, very likely, they may have to alter those terms.
Let's talk about BP's plan to start deepwater drilling off the coast of Libya. That's another political hot potato. Does that in any way factor into possibly this change of CEO at this stage?
I think that's a distinct possibility. Libya is always going to be a hot potato for BP in the future. I think that the US investigation, which is still ongoing, and the various Senate hearings, will continue to be a thorn in the side for BP in terms of its operations in Libya.
Dougie, one thing that also is not resolved is what else BP might consider selling assets around the world. For example, we know that Tony Hayward's been flying around the globe trying to figure that story out, talk to shareholders. If Bob Dudley right now is stuck in the Gulf, focusing on, as he should be, the spill relief efforts, what about that part of the story if Tony Hayward steps to the side?
I think that will be an ongoing process. In terms of the asset sales that have been achieved already, the value won't hit the balance sheet for some months. There's a process that needs to be gone through in terms of the asset sales. I think we need to look at other aspects of the portfolio. I think the downstream division is also an obvious choice to go. BP's strategy is fundamentally going to have to change in the future. I think it will retrench back to E&P, making the disposal of the downstream assets increasingly likely.